It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio today. We are going to talk some cold cases with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office today. Remember, we did one with the Cottonwood Police Department about the Marisol Gonzalez murder recently, and this one came to light, and you've heard the case numerous times over the years. Steve Scourger with Yavapai Silent Witness has put it in Catch-22 many times, and that's the murder of Cathy Sposito over in the Prescott area. So we had another flyer come out and another poster came out, and we decided that, you know what, we'll bring the detective that's looking into that right now into studio, and we'll talk about this homicide and see if we can't drum up maybe some new leads for these guys to get the bad guy or guys put in jail. With me today is Yavapai County Sheriff Detective Ross Diskin on my right, and next to him is Yavapai County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Investigator Paul Chastain. Welcome to studio, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, 25-year-old murder case, almost a 25-year-old murder case. And, you know, the information we get from Steve Scourge is pretty much what we see on this poster that we've got today. And I imagine these posters are now hung up pretty much all over the place.
Right.
All over Yavapai County?
Yes.
Okay. And it was on Saturday, June 13th, 1987, that Catherine Ann Sposito was murdered. Let's go ahead and start out, Ross. Just kind of tell me who Cathy Sposito was.
Cathy was a 23-year-old Prescott College student. She came out here from New York to go to Prescott College. She was also an artist. She was an avid hiker, liked to spend time outdoors.
Mm-hmm. What happened?
Well, on June 13th, 1987, Cathy was hiking on the Thumb Butte Trail, and she was murdered.
Okay. Can we go into more detail about that? I mean, you've got some events lining up to this day that we wanted to talk a little bit about too.
Right. We're limited on what we can say about the actual homicide or what actually took place and how she was killed. But we would like to talk about kind of the events leading up to her death and maybe hopefully jog some memories in people who were around town around that time.
Okay.
About a week before Cathy was murdered, she had gone with a friend to Bryce Canyon. They spent the week out there in Utah. And then on Friday, June 12th, Cathy had talked to some friends around Prescott and said that she was planning a hike the following day at Thumb Butte. Then that night, Cathy had dinner at Murphy's restaurant. And then the next morning, she started her normal hike.
What time?
Up the Thumb Butte Trail. It was about 8 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so we're talking relatively early morning.
Right.
Okay.
Some people heard some screams. Some people went to investigate the screams and found Cathy's body.
I find that really odd that we've got. I'm not familiar with the Thumb Butte Trail. I don't think I've ever hiked the Thumb Butte Trail, so I'm not sure just how wooded it is. It's boulders. Kind of describe the location to me. The
location is in Prescott. It's the elevation I think is around 6,500 feet or so. It's up in the pine trees. There's pines and junipers, and you know it's a forest type area.
You call it dense? Dense forest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I would call it dense. It's The trail is kind of unique. After you go through the turnstile towards the beginning of the trail forks off and goes in two directions,
okay.
So you can actually make the loop in either direction.
All right.
Some hikers, obviously nobody saw the actual homicide, but there were hikers that were on the trail during the homicide but didn't see what had happened.
See, now Steve Scourge has mentioned that to me before, that there were people behind her and there were people in front of her all hiking. They start hearing Cathy's screams, but then nobody got there in time. So is this a steep trail?
It's pretty steep.
It is steep, okay. So it's not like a flat, easy walking trail.
No, you gain an elevation rather quickly.
Okay.
And right where the homicide happened, it is kind of going uphill. It is pretty steep.
How much time transpired from when the screams started that somebody actually got to where she was? And how far off the trail was she?
Cathy was I can't really say exactly where she was.
Okay.
We can't release all the details about that. She was near the trail. There were people that were at the trailhead that had heard some screams, and also some people on the trail.
How far away were they from her?
They were close enough to hear the screams, but not close enough to get there in time.
So would you say the homicide took place rather quickly? And do you think they were sitting there? Were they waiting for her? That's what I'm going to get at too. Is were they sitting there? Did they know her? Were they waiting for her?
There's different theories on the case.
Okay.
As far as whether or not the killer knew Kathy, we don't know.
Okay. Maybe we should do this. There's going to be times today when I ask you a question, you're going to say, oh, you just can't talk about that. Why is it that some of these things you can't talk about? Like I wanted to talk specifics as to just how it was she was murdered. So if I ask you that question, how was Kathy Sposito murdered?
I would say that we can't answer that with any kind of detail.
And why is that?
Well, the reason for that is as time goes on and we develop leads or get information on the case, we want to be able to gauge the credibility of those leads based on how well that information matches the crime scene. In other words, if we put out details about exactly how she was killed, then everybody would know that. But how it is now, where we haven't released those details, as we get specific information of people talking about the case or suspects telling people about the case, we can gauge that information with what we know occurred at the crime scene.
Okay, but we can't talk about how she was killed, but what was the cause of death ruled? It
was blunt force trauma.
Okay, so beaten. That usually leads some form of beating. Okay.
Yes.
Kathy Sposito, you know, some people will think to themselves, well, maybe she knew who these people were, maybe she was involved in some crime or some criminal activity or maybe drugs or something like that. What's her background in terms of her, does she have a criminal record?
No. Kathy was your average college student. I mean, she was an artist on the side, went to Prescott College. There's no crime that we know of that she was at all involved in. We don't believe that she was into drugs or anything like that. I'm sure that she hung out with friends just like any college student.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys think they were waiting for her that day? Do you think there's one or two suspects, more than one suspect?
There could be one or two suspects.
Okay.
There could be more than one suspect. We don't know. We don't know if this was an ambush, that they waited for her on the trail, if this was chased after her up the trail. We don't know.
Okay. All right. And we don't know why she was killed?
No.
Any idea there? Any theories on that one?
Obviously, we kind of knock around a few theories about why somebody would want to do this. We do have some theories about why she would have been killed. We've never released that.
Okay. Have you looked at this case, Paul?
No, I haven't. I have read a lot of the case, but I'm not working that case. I'm working some other cases.
Okay, you're working some other cases, the cold cases.
Yes,
Tell me some of the cases you're working on.
Well, the case I'm just finishing up is a woman from the Cottonwood, Camp Verde, Sedona area. She was a woman about the world. She's been a school teacher. She's an artist, musician, and she was living up in the Rimrock area, and she met this gentleman, and he talked her into a ride toward Texas.
Texas.
She was going to move to Texas, to Austin.
This starts sparking people's memories here on this one.
Yes, and she had two brown labs with her, and they don't look like American labs. They're very unusual looking dogs, but she saved them, rescued them off the streets of India.
Mm-hmm.
And she owned a car, an SUV, a lot of personal property, and rented a U-Haul trailer and was off to Texas and never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again.
And we do have a suspect on that case.
And that's the one you're working on right now?
That's correct.
All right. Well, this one's all about Kathy Sposito, so we'll get back to that, but we got to take a break, okay? Yavapai County Sheriff Detective Ross Diskin and YCSO cold case investigator Paul Chastain in studio with us today. I'm Paul David. Stick around. Countywide, we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your Northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Clean kitchen surfaces, utensils, and hands with soapy water. 1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
If you're looking for a new pet that your family will cherish every day, consider adopting from a shelter. Shelters are the best places to find a new pet. That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals, eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet, so bring home your new buddy today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Hey, honey.
What's up, buddy?
Honey? I think he's been smoking pot.
Call 911. It's okay, Joey. I'm here. Can you hear me, son?
I'm right here.
Are you with
Is he
me?
breathing?
He's not responsive.
Hello?
Honey, give me steak knife and a ballpoint pen.
What are you
now,
doing?
Step. I'm gonna do mouth to mouth.
No.
You know lots of ways to help your child, but do you know what to do if they're using drugs? The partnership at drugfree.org can help.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Paul David. Good to have you in studio today. We're talking with the Yavapai County Sheriff's Office about a cold case, the 1987 June 13th murder of Cathy Sposito. The case has been dormant all these years. Why? Obviously, you don't want cases to go unsolved, Ross, but why pull it out now and take a look at it?
Well, the case has been a priority for the Sheriff's Office since 1987. And I won't say that it went dormant.
Okay.
It's just, you know, you kind of run out of leads, detectives get other cases they're working on, and it's just not actively pursued. We've always believed that this case will be solved. We now have more opportunities with DNA testing. There's been a lot of advancements in DNA testing, and we decided to take another look at this and just run with what we have and see if we can generate some more leads, hopefully get some DNA hits. But like I said, this case has always been a priority for the Sheriff's Office. And as you mentioned, Steve Skurja before, he was around in the area when this originally
He's very
happened.
passionate about it.
Yes, he is. And so is Sheriff Masher, and they want to see this case get solved. And so we're throwing everything we can at this case to make sure it gets solved.
Now, is this something you came along and said, hey, I want to take a shot at that case, or is this something that was assigned to you?
Kind of both.
Okay.
You know, I grew up here. I remember this case when I was a kid. And I've always wondered who did this. And when I became a detective, I always wanted to get this case. I hoped that I would get this case, and my lieutenant at the time did give me the case.
Are you feeling positive about it?
I am,
Yeah?
yes. Yeah, I'm confident that this case is going to be solved.
Okay. What's it going to take? What do you need? What do you need to have happen? In order for you to solve this case, what do you need, Ross Diskin, to make this thing happen?
I need people to call us and tell us what they know about the case. In cases like this, people talk. We believe that the suspect has told people that he did this. And we believe that there's people out there that know the suspect did this, and we need them to call us and give us their information.
Do you know these people?
No.
Okay.
We don't know who these people are, who the suspect had talked to, but there is evidence to suggest that the suspect has talked to people about the case. And I can't really go into any more detail about that.
Okay. Now, there's a $10,000 cash reward offered in this case. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, we're hoping that this will generate the leads that are going to lead to an arrest. This money is set aside for this case. The money is in an account available, and if somebody calls us with the information that leads to an arrest, that money will go to them.
Okay. And Cathy's image in the poster that we have here in front of us today is showing up on the screen here. So I guess if you don't have the screen, we'll get it on our website somehow too. So we have the Yavapai Silent Witness cash reward poster. It's similar to the one that was put out with the Marisol Gonzalez homicide. Paul, we've got you in studio today. I'm glad you came in. I'm glad Dwight had you come in today because we've talked before the show about having you come back in on a regular basis and maybe bring up some more of these cold cases. How many cold cases do we have?
We have over 20, and the oldest one is a 1975 case that I'm working now.
Well, maybe we should bring up this. What is a cold case?
Well, a cold case is a case that, like Ross had mentioned before, that the leads have run out, but it has been looked at a little bit as we go along the years. Mm-hmm. And but now because of DNA and because of the electronic ability to track potential witnesses under a website, we can contact people that we could not have contacted in 1975 without them being local, track them down. But now I've got a lot of names that were in that area of that homicide, and I've been able to locate numerous people from back then that I'm now talking to.
What made you decide to get involved in this?
Well,
because there's 4 of you in the cold case. I want to call it the cold case unit. What are you guys called?
That's what we're called.
The cold case unit,
That's
okay.
Correct. And we have a direct line in, and usually what happens is on the 75 case, we got a phone call from relatives in Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas, the nieces and nephews of my victim in Peoples Valley, and so I picked up that case and started working it.
Speaking of relatives, Kathy Sposito's relatives, contact with them still on a regular basis?
Yes, Kathy's mother used to contact me on a regular basis on Kathy's birthday and also the anniversary when Kathy was killed, just to remind us that there's people out there that love Kathy and want to see justice for her. Kathy's mother is now elderly. I don't hear from her as much, but we do keep in regular contact with Kathy's siblings. Kathy's father had passed away a couple years ago.
That's sad.
It is.
You know, daughter's gone, and he had no closure before he was gone.
Yeah, our goal now is to solve this case before Kathy's mother passes away.
Okay. All right. We have to take another break. Yavapai County Sheriff Detective Ross Diskin in studio today. Also, YCSO cold case investigator Paul Chastain. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Here in northern Arizona and throughout Yavapai County, people count on Orkin Pest Control. With over 100 years of combined experience, nobody knows how to protect your home or your business from harmful or annoying pests like the Orkin Man. To start service, contact your northern Arizona Orkin Pest Control. In the Verde Valley, call 567-5100 or Orkin Pest Control in the Prescott area at 775-8772.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red State. Blue State. Vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities, our families, united. Even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Hungry?
Yeah. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Welcome back to the program. We've got just a few minutes left, and we're going to go ahead and recap the whole Kathy Sposito homicide. And we're just kind of hoping that somebody knows something, and they're going to give Ross here a call or Yavapai Silent Witness, talk to Steve Scourge and give that information out. If you do have information and you want to talk to Steve Scourge at Yavapai Silent Witness, you never have to give your name. They're not going to subpoena you or have you at trial or anything like that. It's basically you call, you give your information, they check it out. If it pans out, then there is a $10,000 cash reward right now offered. Kathy Sposito was murdered on the morning of June 13th, 1987. Take us through the trip one more time is kind of what happened.
Yeah, Kathy was going on a hike. Her friends knew that she was going on a hike at Thumb Butte. Around 8 in the morning, she was brutally, and I mean brutally, killed on the trail. We believe that this case is going to be solved, but we need the public's help. We need people who were around and remember this homicide and who have information about who did this. We need them to call Silent Witness. There's a couple different options. You can, if you want to be anonymous, like you said, you don't have to give your name. We're not going to track you down. And you can remain anonymous. But if you do want to give your name, you can do that too. You can also call my direct line. That number is 928-777-7348, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
I don't know if I could live with something like this over my head for 25 years. You know, I think I'd about this time, I think I'd be ready to say something. And maybe I didn't do the murder, but I know who did. And I'm a little surprised that somebody hasn't come forward yet, if they know who did it, just to tell.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, okay. So the number for Yavapai Silent Witness is 1-800-932-3232. If you want to call Ross directly, go 777-734-8928 prefix. And then we had Paul Chastain come in today, and we've kind of jumped off the Kathy Sposito case and gone to you just to kind of showcase that we do have a cold case unit here in Yavapai County working on these homicides that have not been solved. And before the show started, and we've got about a minute left here,
yes.
We talked about having you come in on maybe a regular basis this year.
Okay. We are working some cases that we think are we're going to conclude successfully.
So you'd be willing to do something like that for us?
I'd be happy to do.
Come in. I'm putting you on the spot right now on cameras and everything else. There's tons of witnesses out here.
I'd be, if we get anything further on some of these cases, I'll be happy to share it with the public.
Okay, so we have you maybe come in. We talked about the Crystal Forest case. There's one other case you're talking about. Actually, we still have one more minute to go. So what's the other case you're working on right now?
The other case is a 1975 case, and we opened it just about a month and a half ago at the request of relatives in Colorado, New Mexico, and Texas. And the grandson still resides in Prescott. And I've been talking to some people that you had mentioned earlier that have grown old. They were 22, 23 years of age back then, and I'm still contacting them. And now they are in their 60s, late 50s, early 60s, and they've become very cooperative.
Okay.
So I hope to get a group of names that I could at least look at as suspects.
Okay. All right, then we'll get you in here the next month or so and have you feature another cold case, and we'll talk about that. Well, I definitely wish you the best of luck on this, and hopefully this helps on a lot. I'm hoping it helps a lot to, get somebody to kind of come forward and talk about it and, relieve their conscience a little bit here. Kathy Sposito was murdered on the morning of June 13th, 1987. She's got no criminal history.
Right.
She wasn't a drug user.
Nope.
She probably didn't know who murdered her, but she was just out on a hike on Thumb Butte Trail, and as you mentioned, very brutally murdered on that trail. So if anyone's got information, again, it's 1-800-932-3232 or call Ross at 777-7348. That's today's Countywide. We'll talk to you again.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.